Hashtag why ancient humans rarely went insane from loneliness. You're about to discover something that completely rewires how you think about isolation, mental health, and what your brain actually needs to survive. And I promise you, the answer isn't what modern psychology textbooks are telling you. Here's the thing. In 2024, loneliness is classified as a public health epidemic. The Surgeon General has literally called it a crisis. Depression, anxiety, and psychological breakdown from isolation have become so common that we've normalized them. We accept that being alone makes us suffer. But here's what's wild. Ancient humans spent weeks, sometimes months, completely alone. Hunters would track prey across empty landscapes. Monks would voluntarily isolate in caves for years. Shepherds would live in solitude for entire seasons. And the historical records? They show almost no epidemic of mental collapse from loneliness. So what changed? What did ancient humans have that we've somehow lost? The answer lies in something so simple yet so profound that it's been hiding in plain sight the entire time. Modern loneliness isn't actually about being alone. Let me say that again because this is critical. Modern loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about something else entirely. And understanding this difference could literally change your life. See, when an ancient hunter spent weeks tracking elk across a frozen tundra, he wasn't experiencing what we'd call loneliness. Why? Because his mind was engaged. His survival depended on reading tracks, predicting animal behavior, navigating by stars, building shelter. His brain was firing on all cylinders. He had purpose. He had a mission. Every single day meant something. Even the monks, the guys who literally removed themselves from society, they weren't lonely in the modern sense. They had a practice. They had meditation, prayer, copying manuscripts, spiritual pursuit. Their solitude had structure. It had meaning. It had direction. But you scroll through Instagram at 11 p.m. while surrounded by 8 million people living in your city. You're not really alone. You're just disconnected. Your brain is getting no signal that this solitude has any purpose. It's just noise and absence. That's the first key difference. Purposeful solitude versus disconnected isolation. But there's more. Ancient humans experienced something modern people have almost completely eliminated from their lives. They experienced regular, genuine, non-digital human connection. And this is crucial. They experienced it intensely. When a hunter came back from weeks alone, he returned to his tribe. Those interactions weren't casual. They weren't scrolling past someone's vacation photos. They were primal, real, embodied. Physical touch, eye contact, genuine vulnerability and presence. These weren't scheduled meetings, they were survival-level connection. Modern humans have inverted this entirely. We're surrounded by constant pseudo-connection, notification pings, likes, comments from strangers, while experiencing profound absence of real contact. We're never truly alone, and we're never truly together. We exist in a gray zone of false community and false isolation simultaneously. It's the worst of both worlds. The third piece of this puzzle is what neuroscientists are only recently starting to understand. Ancient brains were different because ancient minds had different demands. Your attention wasn't fragmented. You couldn't watch 5 tabs of information simultaneously. You couldn't be mentally present in 3 different social groups at once. When you were alone, your brain could actually rest. It could process. It could dream. Modern neuroscience is now discovering that the parts of your brain associated with existential dread and depression actually activate most strongly during constant context switching and fragmented attention. Ancient humans' brains had better recovery cycles. Their nervous systems actually reset during solitude. Your nervous system? It's in a state of continuous, low-level emergency all day long. That's why you're checking your phone every 47 seconds on average. That's not addiction. That's your nervous system searching for false resolution of the anxiety it's been trained to expect. Here's the fourth factor that almost nobody talks about. Ancient humans had radical acceptance of their circumstances. They weren't comparing their life to 500 filtered versions of someone else's life. They weren't wondering if they should be happier, more successful, better looking, more accomplished. They had their role in the tribe, they had their task. There wasn't this constant cognitive dissonance between what they were and what they thought they should be. This might sound strange, but accepting your solitude, actually accepting it, is neurologically different from resenting it. When your brain is fighting against your circumstances, depression deepens. When your brain accepts reality and finds purpose within it, even extreme isolation becomes manageable. Which brings me to the final piece, and this one might surprise you. Ancient humans didn't have the concept of mental illness the way we do. I'm not saying they were never depressed, but they didn't have a culture that pathologized every difficult emotion as something broken that needed fixing. Sometimes you felt sad, you sat with it. It moved through you. You didn't have a word for seasonal affective disorder. You just knew winter was hard and spring would come. You didn't medicalize your grief or your solitude. You experienced it as a normal part of being human. And here's what's absolutely fascinating. When you remove the secondary suffering, the suffering about your suffering, the original suffering becomes significantly more manageable. So, what does this mean for you right now in 2024? It means that if you're struggling with loneliness, the solution isn't necessarily to surround yourself with more people or consume more content. It means you need to reclaim purposeful solitude. You need to rebuild your capacity for undistracted presence. You need to create space in your life for genuinely connected relationships, the kind that actually matter. It means putting the phone down isn't a punishment, it's recovery. It means that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely, and being surrounded by people doesn't have to mean being connected. The ancient humans weren't immune to suffering, they just suffered differently. They understood something we've forgotten, that a human being can thrive in solitude when that solitude is purposeful, when it's followed by genuine connection, when the nervous system is allowed to rest, and when the mind isn't trapped in a cage of comparison and false expectation. You have the capacity to do this. Your brain is the same brain that survived isolation for weeks. The difference is what you do with it. Everything you need to rebuild this capacity is available to you right now. It just requires one radical choice: to be honest about what you actually need and to have the courage to pursue it even when the entire culture is designed to pull you in the opposite direction.